Quintessential Comix. I'm your host, Alice Quinn, and we are having our book club discussion. This month, our panel voted on the books ODY-C from Image Comics and Power Man and Iron Fist #1 from Marvel Comics. And we're going to discuss them. Woohoo! All right. So, with me today, I have an amazing panel of people with opinions. We're going to start with Aaron.
Hi.
Hi, Aaron.
Okay, cool. Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan. Nice to meet you. Allison?
Thanks, Megan. My name's Allison, and my screen is unfancy, so here's my Twitter handle if you like my opinions and want to follow me. Shameless self-promotion.
At Allison M. O'Toole.
Yep.
Okay, way to put you guys on the spot. Sorry, we should have discussed like what we're going to do for intros before, but that's okay, because right now we're going to jump right in and talk about ODY-C. Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Who read it?
Who read it? That's a good call.
So pretty.
So, who read it?
I did.
Yeah. Aaron did.
Allison read half of it?
So that's very interesting, because sometimes there's a particular reason why you only read half of it. So let's just jump in and talk about it. What did you like? What did you not like? I'm gonna start just to give you guys an idea of what I think, and we'll take it from there. I liked it. It was interesting, but it's not an easy read. You really have to devote your time and your energy to it, because it doesn't have an introduction. Things just start happening, and it's weird in the sense that it's like a sci-fi setting, but it's sort of based on the Odyssey story that we know mythically, but it's not. It's all women, and it's in space. So what I really, really liked about this comic was the art. Christian Ward's art is beautiful. The colors suit it really well. And I just really liked looking at this book. He definitely did a lot of really interesting stuff in terms of like panel design and layouts and characters, and just like the flow of it was really nice. But I don't know, this isn't the most amazing comic I've read. I didn't think it was it had good bits, but I don't think it was particularly strong and like tight, you know what I mean?
Yeah, tight is not how I would describe the look of this book, for sure. But again, I only glossed over it. What did you think, Aaron?
I didn't think I was going to like it, because I tried to read the Odyssey and did not complete that. I wasn't able to get into it. I wasn't kind of rocky at the beginning of this one. I didn't think I was going to like it, and then as I read it more, I did. I enjoyed it a lot. I read the Penelope ad, which is a Margaret Atwood book from Penelope's perspective, and I liked that, and I ended up liking this, so maybe I just like derivatives of the Odyssey and not the actual thing. And I thought the art, like, it felt really, really 1970s to me.
Oh,
there was
yeah.
So 70s about it, like, all of those, at the time, like, all those goddess paintings and things that were really huge in certain circles in the 70s, it really looked like that.
It looks like a Jimi Hendrix album cover.
Yeah.
Or a velvet poster.
Yeah.
Also, I thought that Zeus looked a little bit like me. I want to cosplay that so bad.
Oh, do it.
But you can only refer to
did you
yourself
only
as
half of
he,
it?
she, / the god.
Very cumbersome. I might not do that part.
Allison?
I came at this from the opposite from Aaron's perspective, actually. I thought conceptually, I was really into this book. I remember, like, way back when it was first announced, I thought it sounded like the kind of thing that I would really like. But I remember thinking it was weird that once it came out, I never heard anything about it. So I was a little hesitant to read it, and I'm sure there's an audience for it, but to me it felt like something that, like, content-wise, would maybe be appropriate at a second-year gender studies slam poetry night. And given the intense focus on, like, the female body and the, like, there's, as Megan was saying before we started, like, there's a lot of breasts and a lot of, like, vaginal imagery and a lot of wombs and all of this kind of stuff, and, you know, eradicating all the men but still finding a way to bear children and procreate in this very kind of, like, 70s conception of what womanhood is. And you can see something that's a little bit more contemporary in that some of the characters are kind of rejecting ideas of assigned sex and gender and blurring all those lines together, but it just kind of felt all over the place, and it just didn't feel, as Alice said, very tight and succinct to me. The art I really did like, the color scheme especially. It just felt like this intense fever dream, which really reflected on the use of some of, like, the drugs, the Lotus drugs, that kind of thing, which, I like that form was reflecting content, but it felt overwhelming, and the things that I could latch onto just didn't really do anything for me. So I'm not as comfortable sort of saying this is a bad comic, but it was too much for me. It was too much. That's how I felt about it. I had to nope out of there after the first, like, 3.5 issues.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the page where they're descending down into, like, different pleasure levels.
Oh, yeah. That's a trip.
Because I really, like, some of the layouts and designs are really well done. I really do like the color scheme. Here's one that's really good. I'll show you. So these panels, the color scheme, and these gods, and how sort of at the bottom panel when they kiss, they merge. Like, I think the art is more interesting, and is more attention grabbing, than the story, perhaps, just because, yeah, it's been done. It's, like, no offense, Matt Fraction, but the story's been done, and it's been done better. So the art is really
By Homer.
by Homer. You can't beat, like, a Greek guy who was blind, and, you know, classic.
I don't know. Based on, like, what, and admittedly, so I read half the books for this month. But based on, like, what you guys have said and what I glossed over, it kind of seems like the book itself is just Matt Fraction's meditation on womanhood and using Greek gods to kind of act that out.
It's for his daughter. I think he dedicated it to his daughter.
Oh, yeah, I was like, Toulouse.
Yeah.
How old is she? Or is it for her later?
I assume it's for her later. I hope it's for her later.
It's very overtly sexual.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna show you the image of them descending down through, like, the Lotus levels of pleasure. So boobs, pretty much.
Yeah. No, the layouts are phenomenal. Like, the draftsman, like, the craft is evident. I'm not a huge fan of this art style, because I think the artist is, like, he's penciling his pages, but he's not inking it, and he's just going straight to digital colors over the pencils. I think it works with, like, that kind of fluid fever dream look, but it's not a style for me.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. So we have some comments in the chat, so I'm going to shout out to those. But while I bring it up, anybody else have any comments?
Who would you recommend it for? Aaron.
People who are assigned the Odyssey but are having a really hard time getting into it, maybe. I mean, because like it seemed like a gateway kind of thing. I mean, I actually wanted to then go back and compare it to the original story because I like doing that. But I don't know. I think I would probably read it more if someone gifted me the next issue trade, but I don't know if I'd go out and get it.
Right.
Hi, Diana.
Yeah, so we're gonna shout out to the chats. My buddy Jack says hey. Hey, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah, it's pronounced Odyssey. Even though it's spelled ODY-C.
Is it ever explained why?
I think it's just
the name
to
of
be
the
hip.
ship.
Yeah, I think it's
The name of the ship. But it makes sense for the ship because the ship is shaped like a C.
Yeah. I went to the comic store and I asked for ODY-C and they corrected me very sort of harshly.
Yeah, it isn't such like a great consensus on this one. Sometimes the panel doesn't vote very well. Sometimes the people that vote don't end up contributing in the video panel. So do have your opinions heard on our polls on the Facebook page where we organize the event, because we decide what we read based on what the people vote on. So that's,
and then we judge your choices.
yeah, judged harshly
I
indeed.
would like to see a woman interpret it instead.
Yes.
Because it's so woman
yeah.
and about femininity, and like you said, it just seems like someone's idea of what it is, as opposed to,
Yeah, it definitely put me off having, like, I know that it's super well intentioned, but I just, like, the idea that this, I feel like I would be more forgiving and more interested if this was coming from a place of lived experience. Like this, again, meditation and obsession with the sort of assigned female body. I feel like I'd be more engaged in it if it were coming from experience, and someone who'd kind of, like, lived through that rather than someone who's, gazed on it but never experienced that body.
Yeah. I don't know if I would take to the vagina six-breasted cyclops any easier if it was a woman who would.
I missed that last bit because your thing cut out.
Oh, I see what you're saying about, like, there's definitely a level of discomfort about this idea of what womanhood really means and a man telling us that.
Yeah.
As well intentioned as it is.
It's just like it's 2016, and while reading it, I kind of felt like I did when I was watching heavy metal.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had that same kind of feeling, like I don't know, it's just that vibe to it, that really heavily male filter, I guess, male gaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I mean, parts of it were really interesting, and I really liked Hera and the way that she was depicted, because Hera's depicted with a beard, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, and it kind of reminded me of one of the characters in Rat Queens, because dwarves of both sexes can grow beards. So, like, there are certain aspects of it that I liked, but it wasn't, like, empowering. It didn't feel like it was written for me. Like, there's certain things, like, last month we read Bitch Planet, and that felt like, yeah, this girl gets me. This is written for me. This is written for us. Whereas this, it's just sort of, it feels like it's written at us. Does that make any sense? You guys want to know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's more navel-gazy, self-indulgent.
Yeah. I mean, I really, really, really do like this art. I think it's a really interesting style for a story like this that is sort of rooted in myth but set in space. I think it works really well, and I kind of want to get some of his prints to put up in my home because they're beautiful. But I don't know if that's enough for me. I don't know if I'd recommend this to people. I think that has to do with what happens next in the story. There are some really interesting themes and tropes that we didn't discuss, like they create a new sex, Sebux. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so that they can continue to have children, even though there'll only be women. And so they have this sort of relationship between Odysseia and her Sebux. And so that was interesting, but it was also very short, very clipped. A lot of the things in this book seem like that. Like we're not gonna deeply invest in it. It's just sort of like, yeah. It was interesting. I might recommend it, like I said, depending on how it continues, and if there's like a volume 1 of the first and the second trade, like a hardcover or something, where they have more of the story, because I felt like this wasn't enough of the story. Because even in that third issue, to where Allison read, it wasn't enough to hook her and keep her going. So
I read like 3.5.
Yeah. No, and if that doesn't sell you, then that first graphic novel isn't worth it on its own. You know what I mean? It has to have more. It has to be more, especially because there isn't an introduction to it. They just expect you to know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. It wasn't awful. I really liked aspects of it, but
being that I feel it was probably, I know it's supposed to be written for his daughter, but I feel it was probably more aimed at guys. I really do. Like, after reading it, I'd be interested to find out a guy, say, my age or older, how they felt about it, if it gave them, like, nostalgia twangs for, 70s style art or what. But it as much as I liked it, I enjoyed it, I didn't hate it, but I don't know if I would seek out more.
okay. So on a last note, we have some comments in the chat. Jack is excited to be there. But Diana says, Fraction turned to his wife, which is Kelly Sue DeConnick, who wrote Bitch Planet. Said, hey, Kelly Sue, look, I can do a lady book too.
He's like, oh yeah? Watch this.
So yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's
I
not.
forget that they're married.
Yeah, every once in a while I forget that too. But they're like a comics power couple.
Yeah. I wonder if she likes it.
Yeah, you know what? That'd be very interesting. I wonder if she likes it. Because, I mean, there's a
Get
lot
her
of...
on the show. Call her up.
Yeah. Kelly Sue, we want you on the show.
Yeah. I need to know.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain stuff of my husband's that I'll support, even though I'm like, meh.
Oh, yeah.
Erin, I won't make you say anything on camera about your husband's work.
No, I actually not say anything because he's never done anything I haven't liked. But I would tell him honestly if I didn't.
Okay, cool. So, what's next? We're going to talk about Power Man and Iron Fist, #1.
Motherfucking hero for hire.
All right. Now, firstly, did you guys...
Mother flipping hero for hire.
Oh, the fiddle faddle hero.
Yeah, he goes way back on the swearing.
Yeah.
First off, did you guys all read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Who wants to go first?
I will.
Can I ask if any... Oh.
No.
Allison, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if anyone here knows anything about the Heroes for Hire, because I'm ashamed to say that I don't.
Don't know anything about them.
Okay, I know a little bit about them because I did read a bunch of Iron Fist. I got in a groove where I read the whole run, not the one that's recent, the one that was before that. There was 30 issues of that, and so it intersected a bit. And then when Jessica Jones came out, I did a bunch of I binge read a bunch of Jessica Jones, and she gets together with Power Man. So I've read bits and pieces, but I don't have a complete history. Diana is probably shouting at us in the comments right now. But yeah, they're
This hoodie right now.
Of course she is.
Pretty much. So yeah, Iron Fist is
too cute.
basically as a child. he went on a mountain expedition with his dad and his mom, and his dad was obsessed with finding the mystical mountain of Kunlun, which is like way up in the Himalayan mountains, I think. Don't hate me if I'm wrong. So they die on this journey, and he goes home to like be raised
back, right?
Yeah,
but then
and he stays in.
But then he comes back, or I think he goes home and is an orphan for a bit and then comes back. I'm not 100% sure. It's actually been a while, but I think he gets in even though his parents like die on the journey, and then he like trains for like years, like 7 years or something, to like be the best, and then he is the best, and he battles a dragon and he punches this dragon and then gains the power of the Iron Fist. Which makes sense. Okay, and Luke Cage is Power Man, and he becomes Power Man because he was in prison for something. I bet it was like a Heart of Gold type thing where he was like Robin Hooding it.
I feel
So
like
he's in
he was
prison.
framed. Is that? I could be totally wrong. I feel like he was maybe framed though. Maybe.
Okay, so clearly we're a bunch of girls that know little about some things.
Diana knows all of it, though.
Pretty much.
Why isn't she here, Diana?
She says that Fraction actually wrote the run that Alice is talking about.
Yeah.
And Jack chimes in and says him and Brubaker.
Yeah. No, it's really good. It's a really good run. And there's like 30 issues, which is good because like nowadays comics get like 6.
Yeah.
With the same creative team, if they're lucky. Yeah, and so in prison, they do like experiments on him, and then he gets powers from the experiments. But yeah, don't do like experiments on your convicts. Like that's ridiculous. Anyway, so eventually they meet up.
And then we get guys
they get all like and super tight like bros, and they decide like they're like middle guys. They're not Avengers, but they're not like Joe Schmo. So they do this thing called Heroes for Hire, where sort of like regular people can call them up and be like, hey, I need security, or hey, someone stole this, or whatever. But they always end up getting into way more trouble than they bargained for, and so that's what Heroes for Hire is. And then they both find significant others and settle down, and so they stop doing that, even though they're super cute with their significant others and their little babies. And you're just like, ah ha ha ha. So that's my brief, albeit tinged with my emotions, recap of what Power Man and Iron Fist are. I'm gonna go to Diana in the comments to see if I got any of that right. Cage was framed. Okay. I'm gonna...
Yay!
So what did you guys think of the new one? So this is a new version of it. It takes place after they've had babies and they've been away from the game for a while. So who wants to start while I get this up on the board?
Aaron wants to start.
Sure, why not? I enjoyed it. My knowledge of Luke Cage is limited to Jessica Jones. Aside from the primer Alice just gave us, which was actually very helpful. I just wanted to point out one thing that I really loved was this panel with all of the pictures in the background. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Oh yeah, oh it's so good.
Yeah, and all of the there's Spider-Man and I don't know what this is, but I like it.
I'll put it up after.
Yeah. So
I think that's Misty in Iron Fist.
That was like my favorite thing. Not that I didn't like the rest of it, but I just thought that was cool. I love Easter egg stuff in the background. It's my favorite.
Cool. I'm going to come back to the comments, be like, boom. Boom. Comments. You guys can read them. But mostly I do this because after we finish the live panel, these comments disappear. So I want people to be able to read them while we got the show. So
thank God for Diana.
I actually knew all of that Iron Fist stuff just just from having lunch with Diana a few times, so I just want to say shout out.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I also really liked it. I thought it was really cute and fun, and it felt kind of in the vein... What surprised me was that it ended up reminding me more of something like the new Hellcat series or the new Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and stuff, in that it seemed really lighthearted and goofy to the point where they were, like, unbelievably dumb about the whole necklace thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just kind of weird. Like, it's not a bad thing. It just wasn't really what I was expecting from the book, because I also primarily am familiar with the characters from... because I've read Jessica Jones, and I've read, like, random new Avengers and stuff. I've read a bit of the Defenders run that Danny was in, things like that. And I know Danny can be written as a bit of an airhead, depending on who's doing it, but Luke usually is a bit more grounded, so I thought it was kind of surprising that it was, like, goofier than I thought. Like, I thought there would have been a little bit more, like, heft to it, aside from the whole, like, she's been in prison and feels abandoned thing. But I loved the art. Shout out to Sanford Green is doing the art, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, and here's that page Aaron was referring to before. I actually don't know who that specific couple is. It's not who I was thinking of.
Girl.
It's so cute.
Yeah, there's a bunch of... But, like, they mentioned, like, oh, this is a superhero-frequented cafe. Which, I mean, I don't know about their insurance rates, because that's not going to help.
Well, if Superman comes in, they have something to worry about. If the last movie was any indication.
Hey, zinger!
Oh!
Hey,
I'm still bitching about that. Sorry.
We all are.
I will
It's
never
fun.
stop.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do, I'm writing for Talking Comics now, so I want to pitch them an article about, hey, all the people who are really upset about the new DC movies, there's amazing DC movies for you. It's called the DC Lego movies, in which it's still fun, and they have less pressure, so they can just, like, have the characters be the characters. Anyway, tangent, because you should all watch those if you're looking for some good DC movie action. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's as good as the Fraction run on Iron Fist. Like, I mean, it's the first issue, so you don't know. But I agree with Allison. The characters are smarter than this. And there were some touches I really liked. Like you guys mentioned before, Luke Cage is trying not to swear because he's got a young child. So he's like, fiddlesticks. And what was the other one? Like,
Fiddle faddle.
It was like knick-knack, patty-pack.
Yeah.
instead of, like, mofos.
Yeah.
So, like, there are some really cute touches like that. And Danny / Iron Fist just, like, jonesing to get the team back together. He's like, guys, let's beat up some stuff. Bro time? Bro time. So that was cute. But, yeah, I kind of felt like it was super obvious that she was not the same person coming out of prison. I know Danny's all, like, gung-ho about, like, this whole idea of family, and I feel he was so gung-ho about this because also he wants to get the team back together. He wants to do Heroes for Hire. But, yeah, I don't feel like they should have been blindsided like that. Another point I really liked, when Luke Cage, when they go to confront Tombstone?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yep.
Then when they go to confront Tombstone, he's very diplomatic. Luke Cage is like, okay, so here's what we've heard. This is what we would like to do, but respectfully. And, yeah, so I felt like that was a really good approach. I felt like if they talked a little more, they could have gotten that sorted without a lot of violence. But, yeah, bringing Danny Rand anywhere is like, yo, you brought your weapon. You didn't have to... It's not like it's like you don't pack heat, right? You don't bring guns if you're expecting to do diplomacy. Iron Fist is a living weapon, so that's kind of a threat right there. So I kind of agree with Gravestone.
I felt really bad for Luke, though, as though, like, he being there weren't enough. You know, like, he's got unbreakable skin. He's really strong. I was like, oh, you're good too. I was kind of bummed that Jessica was only in this to, like, nag at Luke a little bit and sit on the couch. I know that it's just the first issue and they're really just setting up these two characters, so okay. But I hope that as the series goes on, we'll get to see a bit more of her doing things. Even if she's not a superhero anymore, because she's not, at least, like, writing for the paper or doing whatever it is she's doing these days. I'd really like to see her just being a bit more active. Maybe there's an issue where Luke takes care of his daughter and isn't, like, you know, and is adorable and dad-like, and she is out being responsible and doing things, you know?
Just with, like, the little baby carrier on his chest.
Right? It would be so cute, so I hope we get that.
Side note, did you guys read the Jessica Jones comics?
Yes.
No.
Did you read the Pulse after?
No.
Not yet. Intend to.
Because I got a pack that was Jessica Jones, Pulse, and various appearances of her. The Pulse was really good. I was sad it didn't last long enough. Basically, the idea behind it is Jonah J. Jameson has it, like, finally admits, okay, people like superheroes or whatever. And
I guess.
Yeah. And dedicates a section of the newspaper to, like, pretty much superhero gossip. So it's a gossip column about superheroes, and it's called The Pulse. And he brings in Jessica Jones as a consultant because she's a normal person who was a superhero and has a lot of ties in the superhero community. So The Pulse is really a lot about her and Luke Cage after Jessica Jones and their relationship. It's really beautiful. Yeah, so that one's really good, but a lot of the feel of those comics didn't really translate here. I mean, there's some moments where you get nostalgic, and there's some moments where they pull on your heartstrings, but they didn't really feel like Power Man and Iron Fist to me. But they could get there, maybe. I don't know. What did you guys think?
In this issue, they didn't feel like Power Man and Iron Fist to you?
Yeah, I mean, they did in a sense, but they weren't. The tone is different. They didn't have the same sort of personality, like not like
this dynamic.
Yeah, the dynamic. And it might just be that they've been apart for so long, and we haven't had a comic like that. But yeah, they didn't feel like the same characters. Whereas, you know, other comics I've been able to just sort of. They had a scene in one of the free comic book day issues. I can't remember which one, but it was like a.
Well, that's why I'm.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's why I compared it to you know, some of these other books that are a bit more focused on humor and less on like continuity and that kind of thing, like the Squirrel Girl, like Hellcat, like these other kind of more comedy focused books. I'm wondering if this is maybe something more like that, where you're used to seeing them in like a book like Jessica Jones, which was very heavy, and I think The Pulse was also kind of for like an adult audience, right? And this one seems a little bit more accessible. So I wonder if it's not a flaw in the book rather than just like a difference in our expectations, because this seems more like the way they were written in, say, like The Superior Foes of Spider-Man, where they had an appearance and it was like really goofy and fun. So I'm wondering if this book is maybe meant to be a little bit more lighthearted and a little sillier, and maybe isn't meant to tug on the heartstrings the same way some of those more serious, you know, comics were. There's a place for both of those styles, and I guess you're gonna have people that will like one more than the other, but I wonder if we're maybe faulting the book for something it wasn't necessarily trying to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you where my vote is cast, because I am super into comics being fun again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think like, there's definitely a place for that, and I think that there's like legitimate frustration against some of the fun ones sometimes, where characters' personalities or relationships will sometimes get sidelined in favor of like jokes and making things funny and like land differently. So I can see how some people don't love that new wave of comics, or like don't like some of the series because they, you know, have a character who shows up in some sort of like weird, like think about like Spider-Man, the first issue of Howard the Duck, you know, it was like ridiculous, it was hilarious, but it wasn't like Spider-Man. So I can see from the perspective of people with an investment in the characters, if they aren't getting what they want, why they'd find that frustrating. And I think you can write a fun book that still maintains that character, but then also, again, if you're doing something more irreverent, you're doing something a little bit more like referential, you're doing something that's supposed to be goofier and more surreal, and maybe kind of like dubious canon, then I definitely think there's a place for that. So, I don't know. I like both.
I guess it kind of reminds me of, what was that Stuart Immonen book? Agents of Hate.
Next Wave.
Next Wave. And all those characters were like legacy characters, but he took them and basically did almost parodies of themselves. And I loved that book, but I knew some people who didn't because they knew those previous iterations of those characters, and I had none with those characters. They were all new, they were all fresh to me, and they held no weight for me. And it's the same thing with this book, where like I have no previous attachments to Iron Fist or Luke Cage at all. This is pretty much my first introduction to them as a team. And so for me, like, going into it, I'm like, oh, this is a dynamic? Cool. I love it. I love this book. And I did love this book.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, too. I just can see why
I get
maybe...
what you're saying now. I can get the kind of distaste if it is, like, kind of a real distinct difference between their previous iterations.
Yeah, but like I'm like you, I don't know that much about the characters. It's not the whole sort of Hell's Kitchen situation is sort of foreign to me in Marvel.
Yeah,
but this was still a lot of fun, and I still really enjoyed it.
So we have some comments. So I'm just showing a bit of them now, and then I'm screenshotting the others. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's necessarily bad that they're lighthearted. I think I was more disappointed about how easily they were taken by Janine.
Yeah, they seem very clueless. Like, I don't really know much about the characters, but on just an adult human level, they seem
they're just like they've hung out with Doctor Strange, and they can't see a magical necklace when they see one, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, like, Power Man is very much like, are you sure, though? Are you sure? Like, at the very least, he's suspicious, but I do get there's too many leaps of logic. There's at least one too big a leap of logic.
Yeah. Okay, so there is more discussion in the chat, so I'm going to put up some more stuff.
So chatty.
That's what they're passionate about.
Yeah,
it also seems like they might have just put Jenny in there as like a plot device, because if Diana doesn't know Jenny, I don't believe she ever existed.
Yeah, that was one thing I wanted to ask too.
I didn't know Tombstone almost killed Danny once. That does bring something else into it.
I want to reiterate here, because we're talking about these characters, that everyone should read The Superior Foes of Spider-Man. The omnibus came out ago. It was amazing, and it was funny, and you should all read it.
Oh, okay.
Get that plug out there.
I didn't actually end up reading any of the Superior stuff.
This isn't, it has nothing to do with actual Spider-Man. Spider-Man isn't in it at all. It's Superior Foes of Spider-Man. It's about a 5-member Sinister Six, and it's kind of like what we're saying, where it's all these characters that no one has any attachment to, so they make them all idiots, and it's hilarious.
I'd be into that.
It's just like a comic of incompetent supervillains attempting to double-cross each other, basically. There's 12 issues of that. It was great. And Steve Lieber's art was so good.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And it's Nick Lowe, who's really funny, but yeah.
More chat.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, Diana's saying, Danny can usually detect magic. Yeah, see, I think this was meant to be a funny book. I think we should just take it that way.
And Jenny in the comic was apparently their secretary when Heroes for Hire was still in Office Front.
And she was convicted of murder.
Yeah, for murdering her abusive husband when she was possessed. And the whole story revolves around she just got out of jail, and they're trying to do a favor for her.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing, too. She says she was possessed and then conveniently has this clearly demonic necklace, and I was like, guys.
Yeah.
I love that. Do that face push thing again. Do it.
No.
Okay.
The times
gun.
the won't cast Alice.
It's fine. Yeah, so I mean, I like it. It's a funny book, and we should take it as a funny book. I think there is a place for comedy and seriousness in comics. I don't particularly like the dark broodiness for the sake of dark broodiness, as we've been seeing in some of the DC live action movies, where it's just like dark, just 'cause dark. Where I feel like people could pull it off more easily with when it's like, oh, we're just going to do comedy for the sake of comedy. Howard the Duck is a perfect example of like, we're just going to be silly just 'cause, and that's how this whole book's going to be.
Well, even Marvel in general with their like, I guess not Daredevil. Daredevil got pretty dark, but Marvel's like movie canon has been pretty lighthearted, including with their comics. It's DC that's just like parents dead.
Yeah, no, a bunch. Okay.
Sorry, you made my husband laugh in the kitchen with that.
Nice. Yeah, no, a bunch of Marvel's new stuff is funny, but they can also have serious moments. A really good example of that is the new Miss Marvel. There's a lot of moments where you really see her as a teenager, where she geeks out because she's like, "Oh my God, it's Wolverine! Can we get a selfie?" Yeah. Am I in a Spider-Man team-up? Like stuff like that, where she's totally winking to the audience and she's totally being a fun teenager. But there's also moments where she's like, my city is depending on me. Like, I need to save New Jersey. Nobody else will. Where it's really serious. And it makes a lot... It's way easier to make a comedic, funny comic have serious moments than to take a really dark comic and give it give it funny moments just 'cause. So I think Marvel's doing really well with that, but you do sort of have to watch out because when different creators go on the same character, they can really change the personality just with having it be a funny comic or a dark comic, you know? But overall, I really like this book.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up issue 2, actually. I'm a fan of this kind of tone, and excited to see more.
Erin, we didn't really hear much from you about this one. We got carried away.
She hates it. She actually hates Power Man, hates Iron Fist.
I thought it was cute. I usually, like I said before when we did this, I usually read in trade because I find single issue, I get really into it and then it's done. And I don't like reading in short spurts. That's why I love Netflix, binge watching, binge reading. So I thought it was cute. I would probably read the trade.
Allison?
I liked it. I'm going to pick up the second issue, and I think it would be cool to support the creators on this book, so I'll probably just in floppies to support them.
Yeah.
I liked it. The art's interesting. It's not I don't think it's like the best art ever. But I feel like it works for this comic. We didn't really talk about the art at all, so I just wanted to throw that out there. One thing I will. Megan, did you want to talk about the art?
I was just interrupting you. I love it. I think it's so slick, and I love this kind of like. It's sort of with Odyssey, where the style is really loose and really kind of all over the place, which fits the story. And this one, it's definitely tighter, but it's still got this kind of exaggerated feel. Like Luke himself is just like this beast of a dude, and the artist is not afraid to kind of exaggerate the proportions. Because like this is just classic character design. Like this is great. I love this.
Yeah, I got a page up right now for.
Brings a tear to my eyes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I thought this one was fun. One thing I will say, the reason I don't have anything up here, even though sometimes I do, I got both of these digitally. Last month when you read Bitch Planet, I got the Humble Bundle indie comic books. Humble Bundle is a website where they put together a bundle, usually of games, and they sell it cheaper. and it goes in support of Doctors Without Borders or certain other foundations. So they have been doing book bundles as well, and so they're all digital downloads. So they've done some book ones that are like very literary, and this one they had an image comics bundle, and it had a whack of graphic novels, you know, a handful of new issues, and depending on how much you donated, you got certain stuff. So I donated, I think it was $16 or $20 to get the unlock of Bitch Planet, but that also came with ODY-C, Trees, Witches, a bunch, Saga Volume 5, like a bunch of new comics. So definitely check out Humble Bundle. And not only does it support the creators, but it supports a really great cause. So I got that, and I've also been using Comixology. So I used Comixology to buy Power Man and Iron Fist, and they have this thing called Guided View, where it'll just zoom in on that panel. And when you click, instead of clicking to turn a whole page, you just go to the next panel, and it'll take you to wherever it is. So I thought that was really interesting. I've never read a comic like that before. So that was pretty cool. And I don't actually know how much it cost me, because it was like, oh, it's $3.99. I'm like, great, is that US? Is that Canadian? So I charged it to my account, and I go to check how much it actually cost me, but banks do this really funny thing where they don't show anything that was like in the last 4 days. So I'll let you guys know if I got charged.
This is a really interesting story. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, not a sponsored video, by the way. Humble Bundle should have sponsored this video, but not a sponsored video.
I don't know how much that comic actually cost me, so it'll come up in my credit card bill, I guess. But yeah, digital comics, it's the thing I'm doing now, because I don't know if you guys can see, I don't have any more space. Like, I live in Toronto. Like, I don't have space for stuff like that.
My house is all books and like 6 inches for us to live in, and the rest is.
Yeah, there's a bookshelf up here. There's a bookshelf down there. That's all full, and that's not even the stuff I have at the studio.
Yeah, I'm gonna do digital purchases, and I'm also gonna try to buy a lot more like original art at cons this year to continue to support the comics community and artists. But anyway, yeah, I liked Iron Man, Power Fist. Power Fist,
One more time?
I'm surprised that's the first time I did this video, because when I was I kept anyway, they were really good. Honestly, like, I don't think it was bad. I think it was interesting, but I don't think it was great or perfect. But it's definitely worth checking out just for the art, is my opinion. Yeah. I'm going to take one last look at the chat.
Yeah. Actually, Jack said something I want to talk about.
Okay, cool. I'll take a...
While you're pulling that up, can I shout out to Sanford Green's Twitter page? He's been doing daily sketches for Black History Month and, like, Black Comics Month. They're pretty cool.
Wow.
Check out his Twitter page. It's at Sanford Green. Just shouting out Black History
That's
Month.
amazing.
Give some props.
Cool.
I
He's a
definitely
talented dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to give him a follow. Jack says that he thinks the DC Marvel Universe movie divide is a result of WB trying to differentiate their brand.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to kind of just talk about, in that I can see what he means, but I think it's more just after the Batman trilogy with Christopher Nolan and the huge monetary success of that, DC was like, oh, dark works. Dark and serious is where the money is. That's everything is dark now. And even with the new Batman Superman movie, like Deadpool just came out, which was rated R, and that did amazing. And now we just saw that there's going to be a Blu-ray release of Batman Superman that's going to be rated R.
Because Batman is really like Deadpool in that it's like aimed at adults.
It's only successful because it was rated R.
Too. Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, I like one of my friends after seeing Man of Steel said that it was a Superman movie by people who really like Batman. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I think that there's definitely some truth to that, like a desire to be different and distinct from the Marvel films. Like I wouldn't discount that entirely,
No.
but I definitely agree that I think that Nolan's influence was felt, especially when they hired someone like Snyder, who's just not Christopher Nolan, but wants to be. And that's
Fuck that
been,
movie.
yeah, it's just not been a good time. And I don't know why they keep doing it, because it doesn't seem like people like it. But then we keep spending money on it, so.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what they're talking about here? The tiara and the big
The
collar?
costume.
That's Power Man's old costume. He had a tiara, basically, and he had a big popped-up yellow collar.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
Sweet Christmas is his catchphrase.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get that. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys about the movie universe. It kind of sucks. But the way we can all prevent it is when these DC movies come out in theaters, if they look like crap, don't see them.
That's not going to happen. I'm going to go
I
ahead
have to see them and then yell about it on Twitter.
I'm going to go.
Just steal it. Just steal it.
The Quintessential Comix YouTube channel does not promote stealing in any way, shape, or form.
The opinions expressed do not represent the Quintessential Comix, especially when Megan's on it.
No, I love all of your sassy opinions, and I really appreciate you guys sharing honestly and just speaking openly about these books, because that's what book club's about, right? We gotta, like, there's no point if we're just gonna sugarcoat it, right? Let's be honest. So, yeah, we're going to wrap up this book club. We're having a lot of fun here on book club. If you guys want to join, you could follow this channel, Quintessential Comix on YouTube. All the pre-planning is on our Facebook page, Quintessential Comix, or just QCX show. A month before, we put up a poll about what you guys want to read for your new issue and your graphic novel. And depending on what gets the most votes, that's what we'll read. We'll meet once a month. You can join in the video chat if you just comment on the YouTube, Facebook event page, letting me know that you want to join. We'll set that up, no problem. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope we haven't bored you with our tirade of opinions and just squeeing and just geeking out all the time. I'm Alice Quinn. This is my channel, and that means I can ramble as much as I want. Erin?
Hi.
Fucking Erin?
Am I supposed to know?
Yeah, I know, we're doing our outros.
Okay, good. That helps. Oh, just so everybody knows, I come to this from like a limited comics background. I read them as a kid. I read some. But this is like an education for me. Every time we do, when Alice puts up the thing and a graphic novel and a comic is picked, it causes me to stretch and do things I maybe wouldn't choose. So that's why I do it, and I love it.
Awesome. Megan?
My name is Megan. You can find me on Twitter at mega_Carter. And you can read my work at Godslave, or you can read Godslave, my comic, at godslavecomic.com. Which you can see right here. Bam.
Ooh.
And I also like doing these shows because I like talking about the things I read, and in general, I just like talking at Alice and Allison and Erin, and making laugh. It's my favorite.
Yeah, and we'll continue to have you on, even though your internet connection is spotty, and we have to sort of...
Thanks for loving me despite it.
Love you! Allison?
I'm Allison. You can follow me on Twitter at Allison M. O'Toole. Also, starting March 1st, you should support the Kickstarter for the Toronto Comics Anthology Volume 3, which I edited, and it will also... Yup! It features a story written by me, drawn by the lovely Megan, about some ghost hunters investigating the Keg Mansion in Toronto. If you like indie comics, if you're based in Toronto and you like local comics, you should check that out. It's got a lot of really talented folks in it. So that will be coming your way on March 1st. And I'm going to make Alice tell everyone about it for me, so you'll have a link at some point, I'm sure.
I have here, I have the second volume with an introduction by Jim Zub. No, it's really great. I broke the spine a little because I read it. Yeah, no, it's really good. Speaking of pimping stuff, I'm hosting our comic shop ladies' night here in Toronto, Canada, this Saturday night at the Sidekick store. If you're watching this later and you can't come, whatever, I totally understand. But you can check us out. We're a page on Facebook called Comic Shop Ladies Night, and you should check out the Sidekick. It's a really cool comic shop / cafe on Queen Street West. East. It's super east, and
Yeah.
it's run by this amazing woman, Chris, and it's just a really well done shop, and it really combines the like cafe and comics stuff really well.
Actually, as far as I know, it's completely female run, right?
I think there's a dude that works there because they needed another person to work there, but yeah, it's completely female run.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's it.
He is subordinate.
He has no sway or power.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. We look forward. I have one thing more. I can't actually announce anything because it's not official, but stay tuned for the Quintessential Comix Facebook page because we might be having an in-person live book club where you could come and join at an event that might be coming to Toronto. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much for joining us today. We look forward to discussing more comics and graphic novels with you in the future.